Right. Yes. So if you're here and you've not been here before, this is the sort of preamble bit. I will be starting in about 30 seconds, and there will be introductions. Good, lovely. Thanks, Tom. Hi, Dane. How you doing? And we shall start. Let me just have a little drinkle. Thanks for coming. And we go. Welcome to Real Magic Review. My name is Steve Faulkner, and today we'll be reviewing Parlour Tricks by Morgan and West, which has just come out. This is Reese Jones and Robert Tay. I always want to say Griff Reese. I know, you must get that all the time. Who I met a few years ago. And this is the book of their Parlour act, which is why it's called Parlour Tricks. And their show is called Parlour Tricks. I'll go into all that in a minute. There are a few questions already, really good questions, the same questions I had before. I'll just do the intro, say hello to those of you that are here, and of course mention the fact that I would like you to like and subscribe. That would be lovely. It makes all the difference. It really does. And check out cardmagiccourse.com. This week we had our first live coaching session, which was great. There were like 8 of us on there, for people from all over the world, and it was brilliant. It was like a sort of hangout online, and each person had like 5 minutes to talk about an issue they had, and we went through it. So the kind of a double lift thing on there, and someone had an issue with something else, and it was just lovely. So thanks for that. The card course is just going from strength to strength, and it's really starting to pay off the work that I put into this. And talking about work, there's a sort of theme of that in this book. So thanks very much for being here. Let's have a little look. Hi Tom, hi Ivan, Dane, Daryl, how you doing? Will, thanks, smash the like button, you're always very supportive. Thanks Will, Michael and Paul and Keith. A couple of people, well, one person said this week about sort of the rambles, and they want me to get straight to the magic stuff. And I always feel a bit weird before saying hello. You know, this is your time, and you've come here, and some of you turn up a couple of times a week, so I kind of feel a bit weird going bang straight into it. And I need to kind of warm into it a little bit. This is kind of, it's a live show. So it really is appreciated. It's been a really good day, actually. I've been reading this book all day. And it's kind of been the perfect day, because I started reading the book, and then I took a break to go and see my son in his performance. My son's 10 years old, and it was, oh man, I was just smiling from ear to ear. They had this Greek performance, and they were all dressed up as Greek people. And for that, with all the stuff that's going on at the moment, for that hour or half hour I was in there watching him, I was just completely just in the moment. And it reminded me of kind of what we do as magicians, whether we're hobbyists or professionals. Whatever we do, for that moment we're doing it, we just create that thing for people that just make them forget about all the stuff that's going on. I can't not mention, as a professional magician, at the moment you'll see a lot more content, because all my stuff's been cancelled, and it's not a complaint, it's just the way it is. We've just got to go with it, and a lot of magicians are struggling at the moment. A lot of people are struggling, aren't they? Businesses, individuals, people worried. So my feeling is that we're going to be all right, but it's going to be a strange thing. But we can all kind of be kind and compassionate to each other and understanding, and that makes a huge difference. I know I'm sounding a bit woo-woo like a hippie, but it just, I can't help but say it. But we can use our communities to sort of help each other out. So my thoughts are with you if you are losing money left, right and centre, as we all are at the moment. Right, so I'll come to questions in a minute. The questions are what I thought of this book. Now, I'm really glad I've reviewed this book, because would I have bought it and read it had I not been reviewing it? So I've got to say, first of all, probably just because of what it looks like. It looks really nice on the shelf. And I will go into the design of it, because I think it is important. But the questions are, okay, Morgan and Wes, I met Reese and Robert a few years ago at the session. And I saw the show, and then I was doing my show at the time. I'd started doing my own show, my sort of variety magic show, up in Sheffield, the Greystones, and I asked them to do the show, and they said yes, which was lovely. So they came and did the show. I absolutely love their act, but it was very specific to them. If you don't know their stuff, I suggest you look into it. The theme is that they are time-traveling magicians. That is their characters, and they're a double act. And it's kind of, I suppose, period magic, because they're dressed in that way. So you look at the book of their show, and my expectation was, this is what I thought what the book was going to be. I thought it was going to be a few routines from the show. I don't know why I thought that. I suppose if someone does a professional show, it's rare that they give everything away. Even if someone does a show and does a version of it in a festival, it's usually a shortened version. So I thought there was going to be a few routines from the show with a little bit of maybe kind of script and why they do this sort of thing, but mostly the method of how they do their tricks. Now, their tricks are very good, I will say this. They're not... I think sometimes when someone has a very strong theme, they can kind of get away with tricks that, or they maybe think they can get away with tricks that aren't quite as strong, but they've got the whole thing around it, like the humour and all that. I will say that first and foremost, that these tricks for magicians are very, very good. They're fooling. If you saw my review of the Thought of Cards Across, it's a brilliant way of doing that trick. And if you don't know how it's done, and you don't sit and try and unpick it, it will fool you. And most of their stuff, I will say, Hector Chadwick in the intro says this. He says that he gets fooled by what they do. And actually, when he watches them, he might sort of, you know, through knowing them and being friends, they'll find out how the tricks are done. And then months later, when he watched it again, he'll forget. And they're very, very good methods. So one of the reasons we buy magic books is because we kind of like collecting the methods, don't we? It goes back to our childhood. Maybe when we started getting into magic, this idea of kind of, you know, I look at these books and I feel this kind of feeling of the secrets in there. That's very kind of intoxicating. So part of it is the methods. So you will get that from this book, all right? You're going to get methods of tricks that you'll read it and go, how are they going to do that? And importantly, you might watch it, because I will say this, that and I'll say it again and remind me if I don't in the questions, but you can get a free, and I didn't know until just a minute ago, that if you even haven't got the book, you can watch the show for free. And that's going to be a really important thing, because you can watch that and you can, and the links will be below and all that, and you can, you'll be fooled by a lot of this stuff. But there's more to this. So that's what I thought. A few methods, a few things, nice. I knew it was going to be nicely designed because it's a Vanishing Ink book, and they always are. What I wasn't expecting is what I got pretty much straight into this, was the level of information in this book. I'll just go to how it's sort of set out. Well, what they say at the beginning in the introduction is that they love also working out how things are done. Even if they look at buildings, they look at how is that made, and mechanical things, how does that do that? You know, and we all have that in us. But importantly, there's the why is it done? And that's really the meat of this book, really, I think, for me. Yes, we get the methods, but then it's like, why have they done this? But even when I read that in the introduction, my image then went, okay, there's going to be a few routines, and then there's going to be maybe a few paragraphs on why they, like a summary of why they did it. And we get that quite a lot, don't we? We say, oh yeah, I did this, I used to do this, I changed it for that, fine. What you get is you get the routine, which you can actually watch, like I said, the whole show, and it's everything that's in this show. You can watch it, and it's like an hour and a half or something, hour and 15 minutes or whatever it is. Filmed very well, filmed very nicely. You get obviously the sort of premise, the setup, the effect, the props and preparation needed. You get the method, you get the script, and then you get usually a kind of chapter afterwards, which will say why they did stuff, but then open up another discussion. And that's, I mean, I suppose that's what, and I'm not comparing what I do to this, because this is done in a way more professional way, but I like the discussions that these things can then bring up, and the questions. And what they also do, which I really like, is they question everything. And I know a lot of magicians question stuff, but down to the details. They question, and some of their views, as they say, can be quite controversial, but what they do is they make us think, and they make me think, and they make us not only question the things that we maybe get used to seeing, but also, if we're brutally honest, they make us question what we are doing. And in a way that I think a lot of magic books do that, but nothing quite as recently. Well, very recently, I've read it today, but I mean, recently-ish, you know, in the last few months or year that has made me really think, oh my, almost made me feel quite inadequate, but in a good way. I quite like that now, because I like being questioned. So the information they give you in that is gold. Then there's this thing of the footnotes, and you've got these footnotes all the way through it. Now, some books have footnotes, don't they? And they get a bit tiresome. You kind of have to stop. And these footnotes are all, if you just published those footnotes in a book, it would be worth the money. And I know, I'm not just saying that, it's all these little tiny things. We choose this type of person because of this. We did once do this, but then we decided to do this because that did it. It's all the little things, the the plot, why they chose the plot, why they would be tempted to do this but don't do this. It's all these little kind of details that go through. And what you find, it's also what Hector Chadwick says in the intro, is that they're always thinking. And I've found this, so when you chat to them, they're always thinking, they're always discussing, they're always, you know, they're kind of in their own little bubble. And I don't mean that in a really antisocial way, but they're discussing and talking, and they've got this sort of synergy between them, which I suppose a lot of double acts have, where they kind of, as he says, finish each other's sentences and stuff. But because they're always thinking, there's a lot of thoughts, there's a lot of information, and you watch this show and you'll see the detail, but you won't see all the detail. But when you read it, that's when you get the detail, and the detail is incredible. Every single moment of what they've done in their show has been thought about. Every single, the way they uncap a pen, the way they put a thing down, the way they get a volunteer out the audience, everything looks choreographed, but not in that really false way that is over choreographed. It's kind of, and that is quite like them, but you know, it fits their character, but in a way that makes complete sense. This person sits there because it creates a symmetry on the stage. The image on the stage has always been thought of, and they do have a theatrical training, and they do actually say later on that they see themselves more as a theatre show than a magic show. That's not in a snobby way. That's just in a very important way. And so, you know, you open the book and what you see is this photo, right? This photo there, and it sets up the book for you. And it's a striking thing. I mean, the whole thing's striking. You open it up and you get this, and it kind of sets the stage. And that's what they say at the beginning, is that even the second people walk into that theatre, that for them is when the show starts. And they don't see enough of magicians that really think about this. What is the mood that you make for that person going into the theatre? And it's exactly the same with the book. You open the book and it creates a mood. And it is like every single page has been thought about. And not just the aesthetic of it, but I suppose, you know, you look at that picture, and you can look at that picture for quite a long time. You look at the picture on the wall and you see all the little props, and it is important. And they say what it's like when they go into the theatre and set up. People say, have you just bought your living room here? Because there's so much stuff. And of course, when you've got that much stuff, you can build the tricks around it, which goes for the question which a lot of people are going to be asking, is this suitable for any magician? I mean, if they've got this character, they've got these props, they've got all this stuff, what can you learn from this? So the first thing is, I'm not a double act. I'm not really working on Parlour stuff. I'm doing Parlour a lot, but I wasn't until I started reading this stuff, and maybe I should. And I'm not a time-traveling magician, or that's not my character. So, and for me, this has probably been today, and I've read this today, I've literally caned this all day. And I have learned so much about what I do, about what routines that aren't even in there, because of the detail, right? They've got every single detail of why they do everything. All those details are transferable because they're kind of universal details. You know, they might be switching something for a switch, but that's a switch we can do in a different way. And because they're doing they've taken classic tricks and do them in a different way, it makes you think, oh my God, why didn't I think of that? So a good example is the first trick, and that's why it's important to read to watch the video, because, you know, we talk about I prefer books than DVDs and all that, but what you don't get from a book is you don't get this timing, you don't get the humor of the repetition. And when you watch the first one, which is the restarting bottle, I think, it's their version of the multiplying bottles routine. And we see this, don't we? And I love the classic one just when people do it. I just think it's really lovely. But they do it with meaning. And I don't mean meaning in a way that I've got some bottles and I got drunk. Well, yeah, a sort of lame story about a bottle being there that kind of makes sense, but not. I mean, meaning as in meaning, it all makes complete sense. It kind of flows. It's funny, really funny. The repetition is funny. Right up to the end, it's funny. They've given it a really good ending. You don't question the fact that it's got this cylinder on it. They put effort into the cylinder, you know, to make it fit the set, but you don't question it because, as they say, they're two time-traveling magicians performing a piece. So it all makes complete sense. But talking about meaning, there's a bit in it when they say, be very careful, if you're one of those people because they talk about scripting, if your script and meaning is, I've always been fascinated by numbers, or I've always been fascinated, to do that when you talk about mentalism. I've always been fascinated by mind reading, and I was thinking, oh God, I think I'd do that. And so again, all this stuff makes you question everything. So they have got classics in it. They've got a version of Lincoln Rings, which is unrecognizable from a Lincoln Ring routine with a thumb tie. That again makes sense. They've got explaining misdirection, this routine that I love those kind of routines that use misdirection, explain it as they're doing it, and pretend that it's. And they do reference the Penn and Teller routine with the cups and balls, where you think you're getting inside info and you're not. By the way, the best prop I've ever seen is the carrot pen. I'm just going to make one anyway. And they've got this. But the best explanation for a trick in the book is the explanation for the quick change that they do, which is just brilliant. So I'm just trying to think. They've got the extra sensory perception, I think it's called, where they go through the senses, which is a kind of development. They had which a lot of us would have seen as such a lovely image, the routine with the horn, trying to guess the amount of change that's dropped into a bowl just with sound. It's kind of extension out using all the senses. They're very funny. Again, creating this imagery on stage. So going back to the question, yes, you will learn, I swear, and I'm not affiliated. There's no reason for me to be gushy over this book at all. It's not like they're best friends of mine. But you will learn so much about what you do, and you will learn stuff about that. And you can take these, if you want to take these tricks and adapt them, because you're given the details of how they're put together, you absolutely can take them. Yes, some of them aren't going to work in close up in a noisy environment. And in fact, a really good point is that they made was that, you know, if you see the copy of a trick when you're buying it and it said suitable for parlour, stage and close-up, most tricks that say that probably aren't suitable for any. That's what they say, which I really like. And it answers a lot of questions, because sometimes I've beat myself up about tricks not working in certain situations. And they're kind of saying, that's okay. You know, like optics. You know, with optics, I was like, it doesn't work in a really bright situation. So, well, that's okay, isn't it? Just don't do it in a bright situation. Actually, most stuff doesn't in that sort of sterile environment. So sort of embrace that and look at this stuff and adapt it. And I promise you we'll be able to adapt it. I'm just going to look at something I really wanted to say. Oh, yeah. So at the end, they talk about theatre. They talk about the fact that it's a very theatrical show. Not theatrical as in, but just, you know, the way it all goes together, it has to be. You know, people that go to the theatre don't just go for the act, they go for the sound, they go for the design, they go for all that stuff. And in these essays, they do talk about the importance of things like design. And you know, if we get that right, it puts them in that frame of mind. But people always say, don't they, that as magicians, we should read out of magic. We should read outside magic and read theatre. And it's quite a hard thing to do if you don't know a lot about theatre, because where do you start? There's such a wealth of information. Do you start reading David Mamet? Do you Peter Brook? All that stuff? It almost seems too much. What this does, it gives you a book that gives you a lot of that theatrical information in a really palatable way that you will feel it's relevant. I'm absolutely sure you'll feel it's relevant. And I think this is information that will make you a better magician, that will make you a better performer, even if you're a close-up magician, even if you're an amateur, and will give you loads of joy, really. And I had this on me when I went to see my kid's performance today. I wasn't reading it as it was on, but I just thought, because I got there a bit early, and someone said, "What's that?" And my friend said, "I said it's a magic book. I'm reviewing it today." And usually when lay people say that, they always say it as it looks really fascinating. It's full of tricks. Most of the time, I kind of think, well, it wouldn't be for you. You know, you'd read it and probably be very dry. But I kind of thought, yeah, actually, you would find this fascinating, because it's a banging read. I remember taking a couple of magic books on holiday with me and getting there and thinking, I'm just going to read magic. I'm not going to sit by the pool. I'm just going to, because I want to get me, and realising I'd bought some really dry magic books and really wish I had a Dan Brown or something, because it was just hard work. This isn't. It's a really good read. They are if you ever talk to them, they're very funny. They write funny. It's some really funny lines in this, some really funny jokes. They've got a thing. This is the best thing about describing what children are like. There's a chapter dealing with children and the unexpected, and this is one of these chapters in between. But I love this. It's like, children aren't like adults. They're like drunk adults. Drunk adults who have sobered up a teeny bit and been put in a room where they're expected to sit down and pay attention. I just think that's brilliant. It really, really sums up. If something shiny catches their eye, then that's all they'll focus on. So, it talks about the difference between working with kids and adults, but not the obvious difference. It also talks about the difference of how misdirection works on stage and how it works in close-up, which are very different. With a top change on stage, you can't do that thing of waiting and using that opportunism that we do with a top change a lot of the time. You have to kind of build it in. And they also are very aware that there's two of them, so they can do that. But there are ways of doing this with one person. I would say, and they say that nearly everything in this routine can be done with one person, like their thought of cards across. I demonstrated it on the review and it played just as strong. Yes, it's a different dynamic with two people, but it really isn't just, because it's two of them and they're time-traveling magicians. And I know I've said it, but it's very important. I think that's it. The plus sides of it, it's brilliant. It is, it's one of the best magic books I've read in a long time, the most enjoyable magic books, and the one that's maybe questioned a lot. Do I agree with every single thing they question? Probably not, but that's good. We have to think critically. I do think sometimes that we can do things that maybe wouldn't be as natural in the real world if we're performing it in a certain way, but we still have to question that stuff, and maybe I'm wrong, and I like that. I like being given feedback, and I like being given constructive criticism, and I don't get that enough, and many of us who work on our own don't. So we need to read the stuff that makes us question. So the good parts are it's brilliant, it's well written, it's well produced. George Luck did the photos and where do they get the time? They're busy people and designed this. Andy Gladwin did the design. The photos are stunning. They just jump off the page. And it's not going to fall apart. It's a really solid piece of work. So if you think about it, you get the book and it sounds like a sales pitch. I don't get anything for selling this. I've already got the book. But you get the book and the show, and you get to watch that show and see. My suggestion is watch the show, watch each routine in the show, and then read the book. Or do it the other way around so you can, but no, I think watch it first. So there it is. We'll go to questions. The last thing they say in the book, or one of the last things they say, I'll just summarise or conclude, is they say it's not about talent. It's not about money. Those things are great, but it's about the work that goes into it. And what you're seeing here, without a doubt, no one can question, you're seeing the result of so much work. And that's going to make it easier for us. It's not like we're not going to put in the work, but it will give us all those tips. I had an image of this, of cutting out all the pages, which I'd never do, by the way, laying it out on the floor and understanding that the blueprint for a show that has all the peaks and troughs that we need in a show, and the show does play amazingly like a full show, and we can put them out on the floor. And that will give us a blueprint for our own show. Not that we would copy, but we could see what could we put in there that's totally different, but maybe has that rhythm. And I'm not suggesting we do that, but that's a sort of the thought process a book like this will create. So I loved it. Brilliant. Right, let's go to questions. Well, I think I can do it on the iPad. I think I've sorted out, but I can see my own image there, which is freaking me out. Okay. Sorry about this, but there's no other way of doing this. Hi everyone, thanks for saying hello. It is lovely. Also like a good ramble. Good, I got told off by a comment before. Someone said get on with it, and but I was like, nah, I can't make any promises. Really enjoyed the thank you very much. 2 back, 1 forward for a little while, people. Yeah, they don't use electronic devices or stooges. No, none of that. I don't think that's. Oh, we've got Morgan and West. Hey, there you go. How are you doing? I'm glad you came on. Love the name Muppet on this. Yeah, thanks so much. I'm glad you came on. I was going to try and contact you earlier, but then I couldn't find you for some reason on Facebook. Is Parlour more intimate stage sort of thing? Parlour is like, yeah. Parlour is, yeah, if you don't know, if you've just started out, Parlour is almost, it's my favourite thing to perform. It's beautiful. It's like what it's like, right? Not at this level. If you're booked to do a gig and you've got to get around 20 tables, it's like you've only got to do one. It's brilliant. That's not the best thing about Parlour, but I like it. Cost is 50 quid, I think. Yeah, $60. Great price. Thanks, Steve, for another great review. Do you think it'll help structure a Parlour show of your own? Potato Spud, man, so much. It's probably the most generous book. And like people that sell books and people that sell effects always have that line, don't they? Like my mate told me the other day, I shouldn't give it away, but I thought I would. Yeah, right. All right, mate. This is genuinely like that. I did read this and kind of go, yeah, you're kind of giving away a lot here, and they're kind of burning it. They're kind of going, have that, I think, and because they're working on all this stuff. And they do these science shows. They do so much stuff. They're very, very, I don't like to say talented because it's the work that's gone in, but they're just great, and they've just got something. Just watch the show, and they've just, from when I saw them in my show, for watching that show, they've just evolved as well. And you are seeing evolution in this book as well. They do things like they say, look, used to do this, but that's why we don't do that anymore. So just fascinating stuff. Really, really lovely. We'd love to see your whole library. Yeah, we'll go through it. So a lot of people have said that. I haven't read most of it. But if you're a magician and you say you have, you're lying. But I've looked at quite a lot, and I'm reading more than ever now. So thank you very much. I'll leave it there. I'll just hang out for a minute to see if there's any more questions. But thanks for coming in on the chat, guys, Morgan and Wes. Thank you for Vanishing Ink for giving me the books, because they don't have to. Like I say, they're doing all right. So everything is appreciated. Thank you for watching the show and joining in. I'm always worried I'm going to start and no one's going to be here, which would be a bit tedious, wouldn't it, as it was at the beginning. And please like, subscribe. Check out my card magic course. There's a sales pitch. You can learn card magic without going within 2 meters of everybody. I'm not going to use that. I don't like, people are really sort of jumping on the marketing bandwagon, aren't they? No judgment, but you know, let's find other things about our stuff that's marketable, other than the fact that there might be a disease spreading all over the world. So we're going to be all right. I don't want to worry anybody. It's all cool. So thank you very much. Yeah, hit the like button, hit subscribe. If you like this, share it. Thanks for joining us, everybody. And I'll go off now, and if you want to put comments on the actual feed when it's up there permanently, you'll be able to comment on there, because this one you won't be able to comment on after a while. And I will look at that, and we'll hit some of the questions next time. So thank you very much. Have a great one. Here's the awkward bit.